Welcome back to the second part of cleaning a 1999 Yamaha Big Bear 350 ATV carburetor. So, at last time I left you was when we were starting to spray it down with cleaning fluid, and I was looking for my nozzle for compressed air to blow it off. So, I now have that nozzle. And we have it hooked up to compressed air. So now I have the carburetor nice and cleaned up. What you can also do is hold on to your jets tightly and hit them with some compressed air. And larger jet. And now it's clean. And you can also take that to like your float. But make sure you're not blowing over your work surface, because you will blow all your screws and all your different parts in every which direction that they possibly can go. Which will make you hate what you're doing. So now that you have all your parts cleaned up, it is time to reassemble the carburetor. So we're basically going to go the order that we took it apart to putting it back together. So first off is we took apart the choke parts. So you'll stick your choke diaphragm back in this part of the carburetor. And you could just kind of push it in and stick your spring back on there and stick your choke part back on that choke plate back on top of your spring. And the carburetor. And then stick your screws back in. And then tighten everything down to like 10, 15 foot, 10, 5, like inch-pounds. If you can imagine how much that'd be. So basically, don't tighten it as much as you possibly can. If you have stronger hands, just get it as tight as you can get down with, like, say your thumb and your 2 fingers. Or just with your thumb and your index. Or one of your fingers, just. You don't need it super tight, but you want it tight enough that as everything's rattling around as you're writing, it's not popping itself apart. Or unscrewing itself. Also, I forgot to mention, before you start reassembling, you also might want to blow out all of the holes that your screws go into. That'll just make everything go together much more dandy. So now that you have your choke plate back in, you'll want to take your slide and you'll drop your needle down through it. So on the bottom, you want it through the more centered hole, not the hole that's off to the right, which it's kind of hard to put it in that hole, but, and then you'll drop your little piece on top of it. As you can see, just sits atop of that. And then you want to take your choke slide, and it is one directional, so if you push it in one way, it doesn't want to go, you'll put it in the other way. And then just push down your gasket around the edges. Make sure you have this little guy here up in your corner near where your choke is. Make sure that your top has been kind of blown off. And then take your spring, stick it on there. Make sure that you have everything lined up where it needs to be, because this kind of longer end that has the hole, your screw hole, and then the larger end goes where your little gasket is. And then line up your nub with your spring and then push down. Now put the screws in it and tighten her back up. Make sure that you get the screws in properly. If it feels really hard, you're probably cross-threading it, so don't screw anymore until you are sure that you have it going in properly. Because once you cross-thread this aluminum, it is almost impossible to get it rethreaded to work right again. It's not impossible, but it'll make this process of just cleaning your carburetor into a whole lot bigger of a process than you originally set out to do. So now that we have the top slide diaphragm on, you can see that you have your throttle, and then this will go up and down as the vacuum of your engine makes it do. So now you can stick this nub back on your choke, and now it's time to do the bottom part. So just make sure, again, just check everything, make sure it's kind of clean. And you want to put your idle jet in. Just make sure it's clean before you put everything in. Drop it in, use your little screwdriver. And also make sure the tip is clean before you stick it in there. stick your idle jet, your running jet in there. And now make sure that your gasket will actually seal up and not going to be dripping fuel. Because if it's all flattened like mine, you probably will want to either try to like jab it with a screwdriver to try to get some shape in it, or replace it. So you can just use a flathead screwdriver to kind of pinch it and get a little bit of shape out of it to encourage it to seal up. Just be gentle enough that you can still get it to work again, because you don't want to ruin it if you don't want to. So now I've pinched it. It's got a little bit more shape to it. So now I'm going to blow out the bowl, which I did not actually do at the first part. And now I have it blown out. And I'm going to stick this back together. So now you're also going to want to put your float back in if you took it out. So remember, stick your pin. So you want to get your float set up so that it is in between those two ears. And you want to get your float pin, which is what is allowing fuel to flow in and not flow in, pushed in. And then push that, put your pin in, and just kind of wiggle everything around until it slides together. Once you have that, you're set. So put your float bowl back on. So now you have your carburetor all put back together. And then if you have to rebuild the carburetor, just order your rebuild kit. And just as you take it apart and as you're putting it back together, just replace the used part with the new parts that you get in the rebuild kit. Also, if you have a really old carburetor or you pulled it off an older machine and it is really heavily shellacked up and it is really messed up, what you may want to do is you can go to like Napa and you can get a dip tank. So it's basically a carburetor dip tank. It comes in a pink can, and it comes with a little basket inside that pink can with all the carburetor cleaning fluid. You want to pull your carburetor all apart so you don't have any of the gaskets on the carburetor, and then you can dip it in there and it'll dissolve all that shellac away. Then you just hit it with some air or like a little water from like the garden hose, and you can wash it all off and then put it back together after you got all that cleaning solution off, and then it should be looking brand new again. So thanks so much for sticking along through this video, and I hope this was helpful to you. If you needed to clean your carburetor on your 99 Yamaha or any carburetor. And yep, if you like this video, please give it a like. If you didn't like these videos, give them a dislike, and give me a comment if you have any suggestions or any questions. So thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. And for installation, just install it the same way that you took it out. Thank you. Bye-bye.